Several years ago, there was a beautiful article that appeared in the magazine Outdoor World. It was written by a guy named Barry Lopez. One drizzly morning, Barry got up and he went off alone before breakfast for a walk in the woods. As he squished through the pine trees and the cedars, he recalled a similar morning from his boyhood, where he saw his grandfather go off alone through these very same woods. When his grandfather returned, little Barry asked him where he had been and what he had done. His grandfather just smiled, put his arm around Barry and said, "Let's go get some breakfast." As Barry continued to walk in the drizzle, he came to a clearing in the woods, and there he knelt down and laid his hands, palms down against the damp earth. It gave him a feeling of being united with all of creation. Barry recalled how his grandfather told him that if he ever felt lonely, he should go for a walk in the woods, be quiet, and do whatever he felt moved to do, like kneeling down and placing his palms flat against the earth. Half an hour later, when Barry started back to the house, he felt renewed. He felt recharged. And then he remembered why his grandfather used to walk in the woods in the morning. Barry's grandmother once told him it was the way his grandfather said his prayers. He would always end up on the other side of the woods, standing on the beach with his hands in his pockets, listening to the roar of the waves. Well, this morning's gospel indicates that Jesus used to go off by himself to pray also. And one reason why Jesus did this was the very same reason that Barry used to do it: to renew himself, to recharge himself. Mark's gospel says that Jesus had spent the previous day healing people. This exhausted him spiritually. Later on in his gospel, Mark gives us an insight into the spiritual price that Jesus paid in healing of people. There was a woman who had been sick for 12 years. She pushed through a crowd to touch Jesus. And when she did, she was instantly healed. At once, Mark says, Jesus knew that power had gone out of him. Mark chapter 5, verse 30. Healing people drained Jesus of power. In a similar way, working with people drains us of power. That's why we need to do what Jesus did. We need to recharge ourselves spiritually. Maybe we can't do this by going off alone into the woods. Maybe we can't even do it going off alone to a quiet place in our house. But we can do something. We can at least pause momentarily during the course of our day, get in touch with ourselves, and to listen to God's voice in our hearts. I'd like to illustrate how important it is to do this. When disaster strikes on a British naval vessel, a signal called the still is sounded. This signal means Stop what you're doing. Pause. Check your situation. Prepare to do the wise thing. Before the signal is sounded, few sailors know what the wise thing to do is. During the pause, they learn what it is. The still has saved thousands of British lives and millions of British dollars. We too run into emergencies in our daily life. We too don't know what to do immediately, and we cry out, "What can we do?" Actually, the best thing we can do is to pause and to be still. Pausing often spells the difference between success and failure. So this morning's gospel invites us to ask ourselves three things. First, do we follow the example that Jesus gave us in his life? Secondly, do we pause periodically to get in touch with ourselves? And third, do we pause occasionally to listen to God's voice in our heart? The musician André Castellanos once visited the French artist Henri Matisse. When Castellanos got to Matisse's home, his nerves were frayed and he was totally exhausted. Matisse noticed this and he said to him good-humoredly, "My friend, you must find the artichokes in your life." And with that, he took Castellanos outside to his garden. When they came to a patch of artichokes, Matisse stopped. He told Castellanos that every morning, after he had worked for a while, he comes out to his patch of artichokes to pause and to be still. He just stands there looking at the artichokes. Matisse then added, "Though I have painted over 200 canvases, I always find new combinations of color and fantastic patterns. No one is allowed to disturb me in this ritual. It gives me fresh inspiration, necessary relaxation, and a new perspective toward my work." Each one of us must take to heart Matisse's advice to André Castellanos. We must find the artichokes in our life. Or to put it another way, we must do what Barry Lopez did. We must go off alone for a while, for a morning walk in the woods. We must do what British sailors do in crisis situations. We must pause and be still. We must do what Jesus did. We must get up early, occasionally, and draw strength from prayer. So this is the message we find in this morning's gospel reading. And it's an important message. We could sum it up this way. Amid the turmoil of this day, Jesus took time to pause and pray. So should we.